So let's talk a little bit about the defense, Vince, before
Please.
we dive into your thoughts on what we saw, what you saw, some of the new things that you saw from the defense from this performance once you dove into the film.
Well, we kind of touched on it last night, but at watching it back, I really felt like the defense was playing with a confidence that I have not seen them play with as of yet. They were, which led to aggressive play. Which led to team ball. I mean, they rallied to the football very well. There were a few things that I didn't like. I still feel like in space, like the DBs or whoever's out in space, still having a little trouble getting off some of those open field blocks.
Definitely.
That's a problem for me yet because teams will take advantage of that, right? Just get the ball to the outside and push Notre Dame down the field. They need to do a better job of that. I thought that the open field tackling, once they were able to have open field tackling, I thought they actually did a very good job of that. So and then I will also say, because of the Ramon Henderson change to safety, I did watch him a lot closer in this game. I think that they hit that out of the park. I mean, It's one game, and I will temper myself with that. It is one game, but he played the field safety position pretty darn. The ground that he covered on that interception was impressive because he started out on that play outside the far hash, and he made that interception on the other sideline. Okay.
So you watched it because remember I said last night about how much ground he covered because you weren't looking at him on that play. You saw what I was talking about, right?
I didn't think he would be able to cover that.
It wasn't what Hamilton did against Florida State, but it was pretty close.
It was pretty darn close.
It was pretty close.
Seriously. It was impressive. And I thought that he did well in coverage. I thought he came down and supported the run pretty darn well. And they had him playing center field an awful lot because they were bringing DJ Brown down closer to the line of scrimmage at times. I really hope that this is a change that they're going to stick with. I don't know. Look, he didn't give them any reason to put him back at corner. I think that this is a great move. And if they keep him there, he's going to challenge for a starting spot next year. And I'm less worried about the safety position next year than I was.
If they stick with this and they can build on it, because I've never been impressed with Ramon Henderson as a corner. He always looked lost.
100%
a friend of mine made a great point to me today. He's saying he was not saying that the Notre Dame coaches are doing anything that reminded him of what Bryan Van Gorder. He was making the point that Ramon Henderson plays corner like the guys did under Van Gorder, where they just look lost and overwhelmed and not sure of what to do.
Yeah.
And then when you move him to safety, he looks like a guy that's being coached by Marcus Freeman and Mike Elko and Clark Lee, right? Where confident, knew what to do, flying hard, playing hard. I didn't realize this. I thought what Virginia was doing on the play that he blew up on that blitz, I thought they were running one of those pitch reads where the quarterback then goes. They were running a sprint draw. He beat them to a sprint draw.
Yes.
Like that is not – I don't know if I've ever seen that. Like – to where he got, but like I've seen it where a guy blitzes and he gets there the same time that the running back and the quarterback are handing off. I've never seen a guy beat the quarterback to the running back, or beat the running back to the quarterback. It was a great play call. I thought Marcus Freeman's use of the safeties was excellent. Very diverse and multiple.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree with you on one thing.
Okay.
I don't think this was a level of confidence that we haven't seen. I think this was a carryover of the confidence they showed last week against Navy.
Okay, I see what you're saying there. I would say that from the Navy game, confidence can carry over.
Yes.
And I almost feel like in my head, I dismissed the Navy game a little bit just because it's so different than what they normally play.
Right, scheme-wise.
But I agree with you from a confidence standpoint, that did carry over. In my head, I erased the Navy game. Like,
because here's the thing that I said last week, and because Mike Hutton, our beat writer, wrote an article where he quoted Jack Kaiser after the game about how, they want to carry over what they did against Navy into Virginia. And people are like, well, you can't do that because that's a triple option. And it's like, that's not what he was talking about.
Yeah.
He was talking about the way they prepared, being assignment correct, flying hard to the ball and just doing your job and doing it hard. That carries over whether it's no matter what kind of offense you're playing. And that's what we saw. It's like, yes, the scheme was different. Guys were lining up at different places, but it was the same principle of do your job, be accountable, and do it hard and fast. And that's what I thought they did last night. And that was the impressive part of what Notre Dame did defensively. And they mixed up their coverages a lot. Like there was one play, we talked about how they did like a lot of quarters to the field and like cover 2 to the boundary. One time on a third down, they lined up just like that. But at the snap, the free safety went right to the middle. The backside safety came right underneath, and the linebacker went over. Like it's like I have no clue what they're doing, but it worked because they got to all the zones.
Yes,
I'd never really seen anything like that.
yes,
but they got where they needed to get to, and they did it quickly. And Virginia was like, I don't know what's there.
And I want to say that was Jordan Botelho that was dropping on that particular play.
He was dropping to away from, but it was DJ. It was DJ Brown that was coming from the backside, and then Botelho was running away from him.
It was like a chorus line, like they all just like it was in sync.
It's like I have not seen them run that coverage. I don't remember them ever doing it. If they have done it, it has been infrequent. Yeah. And they ran it with confidence. And that was the other thing. Jordan Patel was playing rover. He was playing rover in this game.
You're right.
Which I was like, what? And he looked comfortable doing it, which adds to what we had talked about before, why he brings an element to the Viper that would fit really well with what Marcus Freeman's trying to do. So anyway, I thought defensively there were some things there for Virginia to take advantage of that they didn't take advantage of. And that would be they were playing really off to the field. The nickel a lot of times and the field corner. And Cam Hart was opening his hip. So usually when you teach a corner is, you pedal until he threatens you. Once he threatens you, then you open your hips to run. Well, last night Cam was opening to run when guys were like 4 or 5 yards away from him. And that's why the couple times they beat him, they were doing it. They should have gone back to that a lot more. There was also a couple times where they beat a nickel or a safety on like an 8-yard out cut because Notre Dame was just playing off. Notre Dame was basically giving them that, right? And
exactly.
So but Virginia didn't take advantage because partly I think the freshman quarterback was so confused as to what they were going to do post snap. He just locked in on a guy and was like, "I'm going to throw it to that guy." He wasn't even looking outside on some of those. Now, would Brennan Armstrong have hit some of those? I don't know if Notre Dame would have done those things at Brennan Armstrong. I don't know what the game plan would have looked like.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed is again, stats can be a tad misleading. Notre Dame had 7 sacks yesterday. I didn't think the pass rush was great. There was a lot of times on first and second down where the pass rush just was getting there or getting there late. Even on a couple of those sacks, they were late sacks. They were covered sacks. But I'll say this about the pass rush. It was money. Meaning they made plays when they mattered.
When it mattered, yeah.
And so red zone defense has been great all year. 2 sacks continued in this game or what kept that going.
Took them out of field goal range.
Yeah, both. One time it took them they had the ball at the 20, and they ended up having to attempt a 44-yard field goal that they missed.
That they missed, correct.
Another time they got to the 13, got driven back because of a sack and kicked a field goal and made it, but it was a much longer field goal. They had 5 of their 7 sacks were either third or fourth down sacks. That's look, if you're going to make those plays then, right? And that played a big role in why they were able to get Virginia off the field. And to do it against a pretty mobile, athletic quarterback. So I thought the contain for the most part was better than it had been. There was a couple times, but look, mobile quarterbacks are going to get free sometimes. You're not gonna hold a mobile quarterback to -5 yards rushing.
Right, exactly.
He's going to get some yards, but they were able to contain it for the most part, in my opinion. And there was a couple times, had a guy up the seams that they didn't cover right away, but they were limited. I mean, those things are going to happen. They were limited. They were not big deals. Guys were recovered quickly. I thought it was a really sound game plan, a game plan that was executed really well. And they took advantage of the fact that Virginia was not 100%. And again, you can't control that. All you can control is what you do. And they did exactly what you're supposed to a team that has a freshman quarterback.
Right.
But the thing about it is it wasn't just that. That this was still a very talented group of receivers. And they were on them all night. Oh, Clarence Lewis had I thought, for me, that was one of the best games Clarence has had. And we've said, look, he's got to step up. He's got to play better. He was in my what to look for. I said, look, he's going to have to step up and play well in this game. And he did. We've been hammering him. So it was nice to see in a game where you're missing 3 starters, you can't just count on the guys stepping in for the starters. You need your other starters to step up too. And we saw that last night. Clarence Lewis stepped up and played well. I thought Kurt Hinish had a good football game. Jason Adamiola, despite battling the flu, had a good football game. So you saw a lot. Tariq Bracy had a solid game, and then you saw Bo Bauer play great, and Ramon Henderson. I thought all the safeties played really well, and so I thought that I didn't think Houston Griffith started last night. He did start last night. He actually played a little better than I thought. He just doesn't make plays, but he was in place last night. He was where he needed to be last night. He contributed to the overall safety group that played really well. He didn't make as many plays as the other guys, but he also didn't get beat. Yeah, and that was all part. I mean, I thought all the safety and huge kudos to Chris O'Leary, who's missing his All-American.
Yeah,
and had to work with a guy who's never played safety before, and a guy that spent half the year playing wide receiver. That was his depth chart last night.
Absolutely,
and against one of the best receiving corps he's going to face all year, and they played great. Yeah. I mean, they played great, and so I was very pleased by that. Very pleased by that. I thought Prince Collie looked a lot more. He still has to, he's very inconsistent,
but he looks more comfortable.
He flashed a lot more than he did last week.
And when you feel more comfortable, you can flash your athletic ability. Yeah. Because when you're thinking too much and you're not comfortable, you hesitate, and that takes away from any kind of athletic ability that you have. And you're right. I think he played a little bit more loose than he did last night in a good way. Yeah,
Riley Mills played well, and I thought Nana had a really good game.
Like, he was consistent.
Not good from he didn't make a ton of plays.
He was consistent.
He was physical.
Yeah.
He was knocking guys off. He was getting his arm extended to keep him off his body. He was where he needed to be. They weren't able to out leverage him. I thought he played really good football. Really good football.
Yeah. Look,
really good football.
The defense is ascending hard. Like this is a championship caliber type defense ascending.
It's getting closer. It's getting closer.
Ascending to. And it's great to see.
They got to get their horses back. If they can play like this, Vince, when they get their horses back,
right,
then it'll be that.
Right. And that's fair.
Still don't think with the personnel they put on the field on Saturday that they could go stop in Ohio State.
Sure.
They got to get Kyle Hamilton back. They got to get Myron back.
The confidence is huge.
But
confidence is huge. Confidence is huge. I mean, because I agree with you that man to man across the board, that they would struggle against Ohio State offense. I do agree with that. Mm-hmm. But confidence can erase some of that gap. Not all of it, but it can erase some of that gap. And I don't feel like this defense has played with the confidence that they've played with the last 2 weeks. And I think that does mean something. And so you're right. If they can get Kyle Hamilton back and Drew White healthy and, Myron healthy, that closes the gap even more, right? I mean, look, that's still going to be a huge task to go up against Ohio State if that happens to be who they play against. But confidence, man.
But you get Hamilton back, and it's a little different.
Right.
And it's confidence in the man next to them, but it's also confidence in, I think they're finally buying into what Coach Freeman is asking them to do. I think that's a big part of it because he's very different than Clark Lee.
Right.
And when you have the success you had under Clark Lee, I think there can be especially when it doesn't work early. And it didn't work early. It's like are you sure this is the right way to go?
Right. Because we had it going pretty well before.
Yeah. And there was a couple things that happened early in the year. For example, against Toledo or against Florida State on one of the long touchdown run. No, it was not that. It was the Toledo game on that long run, that 67-yard run.
Right.
Coach Freeman made the wrong call.
Right. And he owned up to it, though, which was huge.
Right. And I think, but that kind of thing can kind of shake your faith a little bit in a coach when you've had so much success. And that's the difficulty of replacing a coach who won. Yes. Like, it's one thing to replace a guy that got fired. It's another thing to replace a guy that just got promoted to being a head coach because of his success. And I think that what we're seeing now is the buy-in. Right. I think we're seeing the players are, hey, you know what, coach, you tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. And that's why you're starting to see better team defense. When one guy makes a mistake now, because mistakes happen to Georgia, mistakes happen to Bama and Ohio State.
Yeah, for
sure. The difference is when everybody understands their role within the defense, when one guy makes a mistake, that next guy is right there to hit it. So, like, if the defensive end misses a block or a gap, which we saw a couple times last night, what was happening against Florida State Toledo is the safety was getting there too late or was taking the wrong angle, and they were hitting big plays.
Right.
Last night, we didn't see that. And a perfect example is they ran a swing screen, which Virginia's pretty good at. And Houston Griffith comes flying up outside and forces the guy to cut back inside. Well, what happened, Bo Bauer makes the play. But if you go back, and I think this was the first quarter, Vince, if you go back and watch the play, I'm Bo Bauer, and I'm looking to the sideline, and I got the running back over here, and I got nothing over there. What was happening early in the year is they were going towards the running back. And so when he would cut back in, they would be getting there at the wrong angle, and they'd miss the block. They'd miss the tackle. Or the guy that was doing what Houston was supposed to do was not going outside. He was going towards the blocker, and then they were getting outside.
Just eating the block.
So two things have to happen. The alley player, which was Houston Griffith, has to stay at an outside angle to that guy. You cannot get beat outside. That is the worst thing you could possibly do. But then Bo Bauer, instead of working to the ball, starts working up the field. So he's now in position to either, when the guy cuts back, he's cutting right back into me, or if he beats Houston outside, I'm taking that upfield angle, I can recover and protect him. That's not what was happening early in the season. So it's everybody buying it instead of just, hey, I got to go get the ball. No, my job is to do this. And if the ball comes to me, I'm going to make the play. That was and it may not seem like much to y'all because it was about 4 or 5 yard gain. But to me, that was a 40-yard gain early in the season.
Right.
I'm being a bit hyperbolic, but you get the point behind it. And I think that is the big difference, is he understands what his kids can do more now than he did early.
And that takes time.
They're trusting him now more, and the staff more than they did the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And I think it's paying off. Because, yes, the last few teams they've played have been bad. But you know what the 3 of the last 4 teams that Notre Dame has played can do? They can score. North Carolina is the only one that scored on them, but North Carolina did not get to their season average.
Right.
The 4 best offenses Notre Dame has played this year are USC, North Carolina, and Cincinnati, and Virginia.
Yeah.
Virginia.
Yeah.
They held Virginia 36 points below their season average. Part of that was the quarterback being out, but still, you don't go from 39 to 3 because you don't have your starting quarterback, right? Especially when everybody else is there. They held Cincinnati to at the time was like 19 points below their season average. And what Cincinnati's season average is now is 39 points per game. So they held them 15 points below that. They held North Carolina below their season average, and it wasn't by much. It was like 3 or 4 points, but it was still below. And they held USC about 16, 17 points below their season scoring average. And they held Navy to about 20 points below their season scoring average. So that's the thing I look for. And now for the first time all season, the Notre Dame defense is giving up under 20 points a game. Now the team is still at like 20.2. Let me look at it, Vince. The 20.5 is where the defense is right now, but that's 2 pick sixes.
Right.
And in no universe, right. And in no universe am I going to give blame the defense for the other team having a pick 6. So you take those 13 points away because Virginia went for 2 on their pick 6 and didn't get it. And the defense is giving up 19.2 points per game. Okay, well, that's closer to where you want to be. Last year they were at 19.7. 2019, 17.9. 2018, 18.2. And 2017, 21.5. So they're now in the window of what they've been the last 4 years.
Right.
Despite the fact, I would argue, that they've played better offenses this year than they played in 2019 and 2018.
Sure.
So we're starting to get there. They're starting to figure it out. And to me, that's the most encouraging thing, is both offensively and defensively are starting to get there. And that's the takeaway. So I can be upset about how the game went down last night. And I am still ticked off because they should have won 42-3 or whatever. But you can then still take away from the fact that they are still headed in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point in time, you're running out of time to put it all together.
Yes.
And
agreed.
that's
You got
the thing.
2 games left.
Yeah, that's the thing.
We got a couple super